Hi there, Andy Lockwood from Lockwood College Prep, and I wanted to tell you about a special webinar that I did just last night for widows and survivors of COVID. So I have a recording of that entire webinar available for you. I'll give you that page address in a moment. I wanted to talk to you specifically about the two main questions really that a lot of people had questions about last night, in case you or someone you know is a survivor of COVID. You lost a spouse or a significant other. So the rules in financial aid speak to income from 2 years ago. Now, there's a variety of factors that go into the calculation about how much you can qualify for, et cetera, but the most important one is income. Savings is also important, and I'm going to make some comments on that in a couple minutes. Income, though, is looked at from 2 years prior. So if you're watching this and you have someone who graduates in 2023, they will look to your income from 2021. If you have someone who graduates in 2024, it's the income from the year 2022. In the case of loss of a breadwinner spouse, that does not accurately reflect your resources to be able to pay for college, which is really what the financial aid regulations are all about. So if you had a nice income year in 2021, but your spouse or significant other passed away in 2022, then what you're doing is providing information that is outdated and not nearly at all reflective of the current reality. So logistically speaking, one of the things I got a lot of questions about last night was, how do you get your income into the FAFSA? Because what a lot of people do is they will electronically port in or transfer in their tax return information from the IRS into the FAFSA. It's two different government agencies, but they speak to each other in the financial aid process through something called the IRS data retrieval tool. If you want to nerd out with acronyms, it's the IRS DRT. But the problem is that, again, if the spouse or significant other that you lost provided most or all of that income, or even a significant chunk of that income, that will be misleading to the financial aid office. So the first recommendation I had is to not use that data retrieval tool, because that's an option on the FAFSA, and then you can enter your data manually. But I would carve out, or I would not include the data from the spouse that's deceased now. So that's the first tip. You can do that. The second thing is, depending on what colleges you're applying to, you either will have zero opportunity to make an explanation about the story behind the change in circumstances. That's what they call it. If you're applying only to colleges that require the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, another acronym, of course. However, if you are applying to colleges that require the CSS profile or other additional applications, additional to the FAFSA, then you might have the opportunity to offer an explanation, a couple of sentences really, which would be along the lines of, I know we looked one way on paper 2 years ago, but since then things have changed dramatically because that source of income is no longer available because my husband or my wife has passed away, unfortunately. In my experience, those explanations on the CSS profile don't really get considered. So there's no room for an explanation on the FAFSA. There is on the CSS profile, but in either case, I think what you're most likely going to have to end up doing is appealing your financial aid award, meaning going to the financial aid office after you have gotten a less than desirable award and explaining, no, this you should really consider my special circumstances because this is not reflective of my current ability to pay for college. So you can watch that webinar that I did in full. I answered a lot more questions. I think the whole thing was about 45 minutes or so. And that's posted on our website, lockwoodcollegeprep.com/COVID. And you can watch it for free. There's no, there's no cost or anything. Hope you find it valuable. The next video I do will be on some of the other stuff we talked about on that webinar, specifically assets. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you find this valuable. Please subscribe to this channel. And if you're listening to this on our podcast, The College Planning Edge, subscribe there also so you get any new updates or other bits of information I think that you need to have.